Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 811. My opponent kicked off with e4 and went e6, the French defense. He goes d4, I go d5, and he goes e5. You can see e5, the advanced variation, is the third choice here, although I see it quite a lot in practice. As I mentioned in the game, I'm always happy to see that. I think Black's play is kind of easy. It's not that it's winning for Black or anything. White is fine with correct play. But, well, White has to be careful and keep an eye on what's going on with the center. The idea is, first of all, you pile up on the d-pawn, and then if White successfully defends that, then you switch your focus and attack the e-pawn with a move like f6. And you just keep up the pressure, and you get normal developing moves. So White defends the center with c3, that's normal. And so there's a nice normal developing move, knight c6. I guess not entirely the normal developing moves, but queen b6 is part of the standard pattern here. So anyway, knight f3 is a normal way to defend, but my opponent played the peculiar move bishop to e3, although sometimes bishop e3 is a follow-on move, but he's left this diagonal open, and actually it's funny. Maybe he was planning a pawn storm from the beginning, but he starts throwing his kingside pawns forward. Now let's see. So queen b6 is the main move here, and I thought about this move for a while and decided just to take, which is okay, but this seems to be a little bit better. The book line goes like this: queen b6, queen d2, and then f6. So switching immediately to undermining the pawn chain from both sides, and it looks like this is pretty good for Black. Yeah, that f6 move, by the way, that's not in the opening book. The opening book just has bishop d7, but the chess engine really likes f6. So I think I can recommend this. I think it makes sense to just put pressure on those pawns immediately, and it gives Black an advantage in that position. Anyway, I took. And this is okay, not better for Black, but okay. And then I went queen b6. And then he went to b3, although by queen b6 we were already out of the opening book. We're just, the sample of games is really small here, so, queen b6 wasn't a mistake, but it wasn't in the book either. b3 is a mistake probably because it weakens him on the dark squares here, and I'm able to take advantage of it. In fact, I should play bishop b4 check right away. It says already I can win a pawn here, although this is kind of a tricky line, but it's interesting to show. So knight blocking is the most logical way to do it. If he blocks the bishop, I suppose I can trade and then just grab the d-pawn. But you notice the knight there is interfering with the defense of the d-pawn, but I don't have to take it right away. The line goes like this: bishop c3, rook c1, bishop b2, just harassing that rook. After the rook finds some safety, then the bishop comes back and takes the pawn. And so this way, I'm not even left with a pinned piece. I just get a free pawn. So already Black is in big trouble. So is this b3 move. He just needs to play some normal developing move here. Anyway, knight g7 also leaves an advantage. Leaves Black with an advantage, but not as strong a move as bishop b4 check. Let's see, and now he goes g4. So g4 is really strange. Let's see, just continuing with bishop d3 is the recommendation, just normal developing moves. Anything but these crazy pawn moves. Although it's not yet, I don't know, the advantage around here is somewhere around -1 to -2. So, I mean, it's a pretty big edge to Black. Maybe you could say Black is winning already, but it requires accurate play. In fact, instead of knight g6, I think right here is around -1. It likes this move. The chess engine likes this move h5, and if he takes, then knight f5. So it kind of clears out a space for the knight to get to at the cost of a pawn. And after knight f3, bishop b4 check again, and it looks like this is going to be winning that center pawn at least, and so winning the center pawn for the rook pawn is pretty good plus that rook pawn is not going to last most likely. So anyway, advantage to black, pretty big advantage to black, around -1, like I said. So he went g4, I went knight to g6, and then he went h4. So another mistake probably. He could have just continued with a3 to keep me from playing bishop b4 check. But anyway, I finally got the idea here. I noticed that he was threatening to chase my bishop back, and I was looking around for things to do, threatening to chase my knight back, and it was going to block in the bishop. So I was looking around for things to do with the bishop, but that's kind of a backwards way to find a move. I should have been looking at this move much earlier, because it is a check. So you should always at least think about the checks in your position. Do they accomplish something? And here it seems that that this is just winning. Let's see, knight d2. I can go ahead and take on d4 immediately, and then bishop e2 is the engine line. If he tries to kick the bishop back and exploit my awkward position here, a3 hitting the bishop, I can actually trade out like this and then take there. It's true that knight was pinned against my queen, but I can move my knight with an attack on his queen. And yeah, if we count the pieces, we still each have 3 minor pieces and 2 rooks and a queen, and I've got a couple pawns. Anyway, winning for black. And black should win in this line as well. But I have a blunder coming up, so it's always something. There is a point to white's play. I mean, it's not correct, but if white can get away with throwing all these pawns forward, he gains lots of space, and black's pieces can get into trouble just running out of room. And that's what happens here after h5. Let's see, he went g5. And anyway, yeah, so instead of h5, the chess engine is giving this line with f6. And, you know, that's very thematic. I was a little worried about taking here, having him take back with a discovered attack on my queen, but I have such a lead in development, and there are other resources in the position. So, well, this is a sample line, say a3 to kick my bishop. I don't even have to respond right away. I can actually take on e5, and if he takes back, then I can push that pawn forward, and then after his bishop moves, I can save my bishop. And another line, actually, the chess engine says is he could go ahead and take the bishop, and then I can take here, and it thinks this is also winning for black, which is kind of funny because black is a piece down at the moment. But if you look at what's happening here, black is going to castle next move, and so and that will take care of the take control of this f file here, leaving the king with nowhere to run, and basically black has got every piece developed. And well, I can't say every piece. I've got to get the bishop and this rook out before I can say every piece. But the only pieces that white has developed are his king and his bishop. So it's not surprising that that's a win, but maybe pretty complicated to play. So h5 is not a bad move. The mistake I make comes right here, and it does show the danger of not responding correctly to white's play, which is right here. He could kick my bishop, and my bishop doesn't have anywhere to run, so I'm going to be a piece down. The funny thing is, even a piece down, the chess engine thinks it's about even, so it gives this line with bishop dropping back first, b4, then knight to f5, finally taking the bishop here. Let's see, knight f takes d4 with a check. Bishop takes, knight takes d4 with check. The king goes to d3, and I can't vouch for all these moves. Queen to b3 check, and apparently it's too dangerous for the king to take the knight. Although maybe that's not too surprising. Oh, the queen was hanging. That's it. The king takes knight. You have queen takes queen. So anyway, takes the queen off, and knight takes, and this line, black is still a piece down, White still has no pieces developed, and it thinks that this is about even. I guess maybe I'll snag some of these loose pawns and have those as compensation for the piece in the long run. Plus I get my pieces out and get active. So that was White's chance to really, so this knight g7 was a blunder, and that was White's chance to get back in the game. Instead of that, the chess engine likes the move f5 here. So maybe making a little more space for myself. And you know, if he opens up the f-file by taking en passant here, I can castle and get a rook on the f-file, so that should be good for me. And of course he doesn't have to take, but then it's closed off, and I can, you know, I just need to be a little careful in how I get my pieces into the game so they don't step on each other. Anyway, let's go forward here. Yeah, so this was my blunder of the game, knight g to e7. I've been a little sleepy lately. So my previous games had blunders in them too. Let's see. So he blundered here by not taking advantage of my mistake. He played f4. So I went knight f5. And I guess that f4 move, that was the reason why he didn't develop his knight all this time. He wanted to get that f4 move. So he finally got it in. But he still only has one piece plus his king developed. So this is losing, or should be losing. Let's see. He goes knight to f. Oh, no, he goes knight to f3. Yeah, he finally develops that piece. I go g6, just kind of solidifying things over here to make it easy to play. But in fact, the correct way to play, according to the chess engine, and I think I agree with this judgment, it's you know, to take advantage of my lead in development. I should really not be worried so much about king safety and these ominous looking pawns here, but I should really just play f6 and open up some lines, castle, and get my rook on the f-file, and I just have much more of an advantage that way. g6, you know, closes things off, makes my king safe, but it also gives White time to unwind. So let's see. After g6, he went bishop to f2. Didn't want his bishop traded, I guess. I castled. He goes a3 now, kicking my bishop back. Drop back. And then this move b4. I think this is the final mistake after which there's no going back for White. He could still play on with the move like bishop to h3, get another piece developed. And, well, I mean, black is better in this position, but the material is even, and, you know, there's hopes that that White can somehow unwind from this position. But instead, he recklessly pushed this pawn forward. It's kind of his style, I guess. And so I played the correct move this time. I played a5, and I'm definitely, my king is safe now. I'm definitely not afraid to open up lines at this point. And there's no way for White to avoid the line opening anymore, and with his lack of development, it's just losing. And the chess engine gives a -3 or 2.5 advantage to black, so it's like I have an extra piece here. Let's see, he took, and I took back. You know, I thought this would be good, getting my knight in here, but even stronger would have been just coming in immediately with the queen to b2 check, hitting the rook, so he has to block this way. That defends the rook, so doesn't lose, but doesn't lose piece. But then now the knight can come in to this square. This is a great square for the knight. If he trades it off, I get the other knight in that square, or I get the queen in that square, similar to what happened in the game. So anyway, things just fall apart for White very quickly there. This is also winning, though. It still keeps that -2 at -2 or -2.5 point advantage. So let's see. He went a4, went knight to c4. Knight to b3 was also good. I looked at that later because I was thinking about that move and wasn't quite sure what the follow-up is. But the follow-up is to take on d4. Let's see. So he dropped his king back, maybe opening up this line towards my knight. But well, since he's moved his pawn forward, my bishop can come back to the b4 square and deliver that check again. So this time he blocks with the knight. So I just take it off because he's going to have to take back with a knight, and I get to maintain that nasty pin. And now bring my other bishop into the game, get all my pieces going. Let's see, he unpins with king to e2, and now I just take on d4 because I realize there's not going to be any trouble unpinning, and I'm taking with check. So he decided to trade that off. I was a little bit surprised at that, but basically everything loses anyway, so it's not too bad. This pawn over here is hanging. All this, oh no, it's not hanging. The queen and the rook are defending it. It's only attacked twice. Yeah, it's not hanging just yet. Let's see, he went knight f3, hitting my queen, but I don't run away. I stay here and deliver the check. The king goes to f2, and now I go bishop to c5 check with just idea of getting a third piece on the pawn over here so I can bring my rook forward and get it into the game, and also, you know, get rid of that outside passed pawn. Well, it's not a passed pawn yet, but getting rid of that outside pawn is useful and gives me a passed pawn for later if I need it. Let's see, what did he do here? He went king to g3, just trying to run to safety and also defend the f-pawn. So I can grab on a4 now. He decided to take with the rook, and I decided to take with the bishop. This just helps me get more pieces into the attack over on this side of the board around his king. Let's see, went queen c1 here, looking at my undefended bishop here. So I brought the bishop in, hitting his queen. You know, I almost just defended it, but yeah, it's much better to move the bishop and stay active here with the pieces. So bishop e3 was the right move. Let's see, he went queen to a3, trying to put pressure on my pieces here, maybe trying to sneak around and get pressure on my king, but my king is just completely safe here. And in fact, after queen a3, there's a mate in 3. So if you want to pause the video here, see if you can spot the mate in 3. I didn't actually play it in the game, but you should be able to find it. Yeah, somehow I didn't find it. I guess all these pieces around the king were a little bit confusing, but just the pieces are not doing so much to defend. They're more just taking squares away from the king. So I start off correctly. Queen takes f4 check is the right first move. And it doesn't actually matter where the king goes. He could go to h3 or g2, but he went to g2. And then the follow-up to continue the mating idea is to play queen to g4 check. And with the queen on a light square and the bishop on a dark square, this is often the recipe for a mating attack, because between the two of them they cover all the squares, so the king has to run to h2. And then the bishop can come to f4, and that is mate. So a nice little mating pattern there for you. Let's see, what did I play here? I played bishop to d1. I was getting that bishop out of trouble and planning to take here. I thought I was going to have a mating attack. Well, I do have a mating attack. It just takes a little longer. You found this knight h2 move, and in fact, I could sacrifice the bishop here. He's pretty much got to take that, and if he takes it, then once again I have queen to g4 check, and I have that same mate. So I could have done that. Let's see. But anyway, my idea when I brought the bishop here to d1 was if he moves his knight, I was going to bring my queen to f2, which I thought would be shortly fatal, and it was, but it allows him to live on for a few moves. Let's see, he went to h3, and I went bishop to c2 here. Yeah, I was trying to, I realized I just need to check on this diagonal to mate him, but I couldn't go to the g4 square, so I'm aiming for the f5 square with that bishop. Let's see, he went bishop to g2, which is kind of clever. It gives some potential escape squares for the king. So I deliver this check, and then he blocks with the knight, and that's the point. The bishop here is given his king one escape square. Of course, he's got to give up material at this point to escape these checks, and there's still a forced mate here. In fact, it was a mated 2 the way I played it, but there's actually a mated 1 here. If the queen just checks like this, the bishop prevents the queen from coming over, and that's a nice mating pattern too, with this bishop guarding the escape square, the queen checking on the dark squares, and this bishop guarding the other escape square. Let's see, what did I do? I did bishop here check. which also wins. But it gives him one more move. He can block with the queen. And then I mate. Also, with the bishops and the queen, this bishop guarding the escape square, the queen guarding the escape square this time, and the bishop delivering the mate. So anyway, a nice set of mating patterns there for you to look at. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you all later. Bye.